Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Amazing speakers this morning. I'm super nervous, and I'm feeling the fear and doing it anyways, so let's go. So my name is Jenni Gwiazdowski. There's a bit of information there. I am the founder and director, marketing officer, and janitor at the London Bike Kitchen. I've written a book, which I've got a few copies here today if anyone wants a signed copy. I recently did my Sci-Tech, so level 2 training, which was really fun, actually. Co-founder and chair of the Women of Color Cycling Collective, one half of the Wheel Suckers podcast. I'm a utilitarian cyclist. I'm all about everything being practical and working. And I'm now a professional butt measurer because we have a saddle library at London Bike Kitchen, and I have measured a lot of butts. So if you have questions about saddles, come see me. I'd like to do a quick audience poll, show of hands. How many of you can pump up your tires? Yes, love it. Keep them raised. How many of you can fix a puncture? Well, more hands went up, that's good. How many of you can change your brake pads? Oh, they're going down. How many of you can index your gears? Oh, some hands went up, some hands went down. How many of you can bleed a hydraulic brake system? Yeah, some, good, amazing. How many can service your bearings? Loose or sealed? Oh, some hands went up, love it. Yes, so we've got some fluctuation. And how many of you can build a bike? Yes, we've got a few people. Love this, okay. But very good demonstration of why I do what I do. So I'm really passionate about teaching people about bike maintenance because I believe that it is empowering in so many ways. Like it's not just about fixing a puncture, it's about, well, if I can do this, then what else could I do? And that has genuinely happened. I've seen it happen in the workshop so many times, and it just fuels me, and I know that the more people understand and maintain their bikes, the more they're going to ride them. And that is my life's purpose, is getting more people riding more of the time. And the way that I do that is through building and maintaining communities, whether that's online or off. So I define community as a group of people connected through a shared experience. And that could be a hobby, a characteristic, a location, it could be food, could be anything. And the other thing that exists in communities is respect, which is why I would not say Nextdoor is a community app. Communities can exist anywhere, online, in person, letter writing. It's in your mind. So if you think you are connected with people, then you are connected with people. That is always the first step to creating community. My background is teaching. It was the only job that gave me that feeling of connection with people. I love to see that moment when the light bulb goes off and someone's like, I get it now. And I'm like, yes, inject it into my veins. Like, I love it. And I am definitely a born-again cyclist. So I picked the bike back up when I was 23. I became a convert when I lived in Japan for 3 years and discovered the freedom and independence that cycling could bring. And ever since then, I have made a pledge to evangelize about cycling wherever and whenever I can. And I hope that you will also, I'm speaking to the converted here, I know. But it is a cure for, cycling is always the answer. Like any question you ask, it's just cycling. Just pollution, cycling. Traffic, cycling. Loneliness, cycling, like it's gonna be the answer. But I was not always like this. After teaching in Japan, I moved to London. In 2007, I became a marketing assistant at a small environmental charity. And funnily enough, it was cycling in London that cemented that identity of being a cyclist, because you are literally marginalized, shoved to the side of the road. And the weird thing about marginalization is that it tends to create more unity for that marginalized group. So Next slide. These double yellow lines, when I first got here, funnily enough in Oxford, I lived in Oxford for 8 months, and I worked at the Maggie Arms, which was a rough sports pub at the time. It was good, it was good. So I thought this was the bike lane. And I was like, well, I guess that's how it is here. But funnily enough, this is where you are meant to ride. So my first maintenance tip for you is do not ride in the gutter. Stay well away from it. Our roads are not flat, they are cambered, which means when it rains, all the tiny little bits of glass and sharp objects get washed off to the side. And then you ride there, you pick up bits of glass, and perfect timing of hitting a pothole, and then the glass goes in and you get a puncture. So just prevention here is key. Stay away from the gutter. Anyways, I was working at this charity, and I was sick of people just talking about how they could save the world, and I wanted to actually do something. And I had recently gotten this Claude Butler at a bike jumble, and I wanted to build it up, but I had no idea where to start. Necessity is the mother of invention. Long story short, I set up London Bike Kitchen because I wanted a place where I could go and learn how to build a bike. So if you want that long story, let me know, because I might write a book about it. London was very different back then. There were no bike lanes, no cycle superhighways, no LTNs. You were expected to ride with cars, which is known as vehicular cycling. Do you remember this concept? You had to be a car, basically. It was terrible. And if you couldn't keep up, then you wouldn't do it. So cycling numbers were really low. And it was a system that prioritized able-bodied, aggressive riding. It was mostly men, especially in bike workshops. I did encounter one female mechanic, Therese, who had a workshop at Hackney City Farm, and I ended up hiring her later on. But this is the era of the fixie, of the tiny little handlebars, so you could squeeze through traffic, doing skids and alley cats, and gears are for queers. It was not an inclusive time at all. And yet, I had heard of these spaces in the US for people that were actively encouraging people to ask questions, learn things, and I was like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna set up a place where it's okay to not know something. And in fact, I want you to not know it, because if you know you don't know something, then you know you can learn something. And it was definitely an idea whose time had come, because I met Ellie Smith, who's set up Broken Spoke here in Oxford. We met at a breeze ride training in London, and we both realized this was not for us because our ride leader ended up coming by car, and we were like, okay. But we totally hit it off, and we shared so many resources. So another tip for you is find people who are in the same boat as you. They exist. The internet is great. It's the gift and the curse. You can find people who, if you've got an idea for something, do some research, see if it's out there. If it's not, and this is the question I ask myself, I'm like, is it a dumb idea? Or is it just because someone hasn't figured it out yet? And maybe you're that person to figure it out. And the other great thing to do is just find people on social media. So follow the people that are doing the things you're interested in doing. You can use that to help build your community. At that time, I would talk to anyone who would listen and listen to anyone who would talk, which is very out of character for me. So another tip is pretend to be someone else. And you're a schmoozy business person, gotta go make that deal. And then it's it's not you, right? It's fine, it's someone else doing that. I also knew I wanted to create a women's night. I had heard of women trans feminites in the US, and as part of me trying to build that community and figure out how to do it, I wrote a blog post for Spokeswoman, which I think is still up. I think someone hosted it, but maybe not, I should check. But someone named Fen got in touch with me. And miracle of miracles, I had no experience in the bike industry. I didn't know any mechanics, both the people and the subject. I didn't know any queer people. So I had to do this if I wanted to create it. You have to find people in the community you want to reach if you want to reach that community. And often it will start with, there's one person. They become your, in wheel building, you call it the key spoke. It's the first spoke that sets the tone for the rest of the wheel build. So you've got to find your key spoke if you want to reach people that you wouldn't normally interact with. Fen was the first non-binary person I'd ever met. And I asked them to help me, and they said yes. And we weren't sure what the name was going to be, so they pulled their friends. And at the time, the term we agreed upon was gender variant, which I think is a testament to how language changes, because I think nowadays we'd probably say non-binary. And we will be rebranding because WAG, which is the term we used women and gender variant, but I know very well it stands for wives and girlfriends, which I think horrified some people. But we, as a joke, we knew what we were doing. But we are going to be rebranding soon. So here's another tip. Give yourself room to experiment. We didn't know how often or how long or what day of the week would be best. So we just, during the course of that year, experimented. They weren't mistakes, they were all lessons. And we figured out the best time for Londoners is twice a month on Monday evenings. And Monica's here and was one of our main WAG volunteers back in the day. So shout out to Monica. What is my next slide? Oh yeah, so, and change takes a really long time. It is not gonna happen overnight, it's not gonna happen in a year. It's probably gonna take like 10 years. I think that's about the amount of time that it's taken for us to start to see changes within our target audience. I hate using marketing terms. And also mistakes are neutral. They are not moral. So just keep that in mind. There are no bad mistakes. So WAG was instrumental in creating a stepping stone and getting people into a workshop that aren't typically welcome in workshop spaces. It was really important for us to have a woman or non-binary person presenting information, because typically you have a power structure where the hierarchy is that men hold the knowledge and will distribute that. So it would make me laugh when I would see women's nights at some bike shops, but it was a man teaching. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So having women and non-binary led spaces, really important for dismantling the patriarchy. These nights were never meant to replace what we did at LBK, though. This is where people got mad. They were like, why are you making this special night for women only? And I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to do this, but we have to because of inequality, inequity. And I hate to say it, but these nights work because a decade later, year on year, we started to see more women and non-binary people coming into the workshop, taking our classes. And then just this past month, when we did a mechanic recruitment, we had 5 people apply. 2 were women. One of those women was a woman of color. 2 were non-binary, and 1 was a man. And that's unheard of, like unheard of to me. Yes. I was like gonna cry. I was like, this is amazing. And it also though is like, this has made my job really difficult now. Like these people are all really well qualified. I don't know what we're gonna do. Take them all. That's what I want to do, but I don't know. We'll see. So these things work, but they take time and you have to put in the effort. Often people give up at the first hurdle. You cannot do that. You have to keep trying. So remember this. Similarly, in 2018, this article came out in Galdem about where are all the women of color at sporting events, cycling events. And prior to this, I had half joked with Jules about how, I'm like, Jules, set up a Black Girls Do Bike. And I wasn't gonna push that because I know how hard it is to run an organization or a charity group. But after this article came out, which was in October, I was like, you know what? I think we should do something. Let's just do something really easy. We'll meet up once at Look Mum No Hands, which is the cycling cafe in Old Street. And we'll just see if people come, just keep it really chill. And a month later, we did the first meetup and people came. And it was like, oh, okay, there's definitely interest here. And we kept it casual. We were just like, this meetup, have fun. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. It was super casual, but an initial poll to the group found that a lot of the women felt lonely. They felt like they were the only Black person in their cycling club or the only brown person on their team. Or should I say, but despite this, they loved it so much that they were still going to do it. But WCCC helped them realize that they weren't alone. And then in 2020, when Black Lives Matter came to the forefront, white people were freaking out. I think deep down they were worried that they were racist and they were reacting to that because they thought that was bad. And I'm sorry, I have bad news for all of you. We are all racist. We have all grown up in this system of racism. There's no need to have shame around this because when you have shame around it, you're not going to address it. So you just have to, again, first step is recognizing that you are racist. We were born into and live under a system of white supremacy. That is literally what the British Empire was built on. And the sooner you recognize these structures and the fact that this is a conditioning that we have all had, the sooner you can start to dismantle that. So I like to use climate change as what's the right word? Tangent to this, where the only way you're going to do anything about climate change is if you believe in climate change. And so similarly, the only way that you're going to do anything about racism is if you understand that it exists everywhere. And like, problem is once you see it, you cannot unsee it. So, oh, I've skipped a page. There we go. And this looks like making sure you vote for candidates that have a progressive agenda, incorporating progressive values into your workplace or new structures into your workplace, calling someone in, I like to say, not out, because shame isn't a great teacher. And this stuff also applies to trans rights as well, just want to say. Posting stuff on social media doesn't really do anything. Black squares are not going to create a new world. So this is a commitment. It's always a long-term commitment to change. And it's not a straight path. It's okay. It's not meant to be. It's a journey. And just be kind to yourself with that process, because you will make mistakes, and that's okay, because mistakes are not moral. Doesn't make you a bad person. Just reassuring you right now, it's okay to reflect upon these sorts of things. In 2021, it was becoming clear that businesses just wanted to throw money at a lot of these problems and not really follow through, not realizing that their business as usual, with its hierarchical power structures, prioritize white, wealthy cis men. And those structures are still in place. So I blame capitalism and scarcity mindset, the idea that there's only so much to go around, there's only so much pie, and if I give up some of my pie, that means I don't have pie for myself, not realizing you can just make your own pie. Like, these things come from our minds. Oh, I forgot to share this slide. That's wonderful. This was the first Black Unity bike ride, and we were meeting up in, this is the end of the ride in, I can't remember, Brockwell Park, yeah. Yeah, Biola's in there. There we go, working towards equity and justice. Ideas come from our minds. So London Bike Kitchen, WAG Nights, WCCC came from ideas. They were only brought into existence by actions. They didn't take away anything from anyone. And I'd like to encourage you, whenever you start up anything, just know that you are bringing more into the world, and it's not a finite resource. Ideas are not a finite resource. Like, they're there, they give you hope, they create progress. This is my final tip. Not everything is about you. You don't have to have an opinion about everything. You don't have to center yourself in every single situation. You can just let people get on with their lives. Positive segregation has been proven to work because we live in a society with unequal power structures. So you have to provide resources and opportunities in an unequal way, but it creates equity, which is really important. I'm on my final paragraph, I think. So positive segregation, really important. I think we can all speak to the power of like women-only spaces and how it feels differently in there. And that doesn't take anything away from men. Equally, this happens with other marginalized communities as well. So be open-minded. WCCC is currently a CIO. I am the current chair, but I will be stepping down soon because clearly I am doing too many things. We're going through growing pains, but I think that's good. I like to say we're a hub, not a club, because we're here to connect people. But I know that a lot of our members are hungry for more, so I'm looking forward to what the new board of trustees we got are going to bring. The future looks bright. So, thank you. You can find me professionally at London Bike Kitchen and personally at money_melon, usually on Twitter. That's my favorite platform. Selfish this promo, I am starting Hex Club Fix-Alongs again. In a couple weeks, we will begin our online teaching extravaganza for 15 people. You will be, for 12 weeks, we'll be learning how to fix stuff at home because it's really important. So what we found was people were taking classes and then not using the knowledge because it was like, well, I don't have a puncture today. Why would I try to fix a puncture today? And then when the puncture did happen 6 months later, forgot everything. So what fix-alongs are meant to do is every week we're doing a different type of maintenance. You're doing it regularly, you're doing it in your own home, so you get comfortable with it, and it's all about building confidence and habits. So do get in touch if you're interested in that. And I leave you with this proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It is a quote that people can't find a precise origin to, except for that it's an African proverb. I do want to make that clear. So thank you so much for listening. If you have any maintenance questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. I've got my tools here. Want me to listen to a squeak? I don't know. But thank you very much and have a great day.